Welcome to The Record Show, your virtual spin around the vinyl industry. Brought to you by Radio Wasteland Records. Yes, Midland has a record store. Here's your host, Jim Gleason.
Greetings from the Wasteland and welcome to another edition of The Record Show. We have got a cringeworthy one headed your way today, as we'll take a listen to a song that should have been on just about any top, or well, rather bottom 10 list of some of the worst songs ever recorded. But for some reason, this song has kind of missed its opportunity. But first, let's check in on the highlights of this week's new releases, hopefully headed to an independent record store near you. Ken is off this week, so I'll be handling things solo again, but I think we can get through this just okay. One of the big ones this week is the Rolling Stones anniversary reissue of Tattoo You. But as I record this on Wednesday morning, some of those copies look like they might be a little bit late in showing up. Now, there are 3 different versions of this vinyl-wise: a single LP version, which is a remastered reissue of Tattoo You. Then there's a double LP, which has got the remastered version, plus another record of what's being called a lost and found part of this album. These are a collection of 9 previously unreleased songs from the period of the album's original release, but they've been newly completed and, as it's told to us, enhanced with additional vocals and guitar work by the band. So this is stuff that didn't make the Tattoo You, but they've tweaked it up a little bit with the current iteration of the Stones, if that makes any sense to you. And then to wrap things up with this reissue, there is also a 5 LP box set, Super Deluxe Edition, which includes that newly remastered version of Tattoo You, The Lost and Found, plus a couple of records of Still Life live at Wembley Stadium from 1982. The big box set also comes with a 124-page booklet with lots of photos from the recording sessions and the world tours, plus interviews as well. Another big one on the docket this week is from the Allman Brothers Band, and this is the Bears Sonic Journals, live at the Fillmore East from 1970, February to be exact. This is a limited edition on pink vinyl double LP, and only 3,000 copies of this are being pressed. Now, this is part of the 10 Bands, One Cause campaign to support cancer patients and their caretakers. More specifically, proceeds from the purchase of each of these albums goes toward the Red Door community. Now, the recording itself was done over 3 nights in February of 1970, when the Allman Brothers Band opened for the Grateful Dead for the very first time. So these shows were recorded by the Dead's sound man, whose Sonic Journal recordings are highly sought after for their purity and their uncanny ability to place the listener right there in the venue. So this has been a long out-of-print release, freshly restored and mastered from the original tapes, and includes all new album art and liner notes, including a series of rare band photos from that Fillmore East performance in February of 1970. So this looks like it's going to be a great one for you Allman Brothers fans to grab a hold of. Also, something new this week from My Morning Jacket. This is a self-titled release showing up on double what is being called Orange Crush with Lemon Splatter vinyl. That is the indie exclusive version of this. There's also another variation on clear vinyl. But this is a new full-length My Morning Jacket album, and it is said to reaffirm the rarefied magic that has made them so beloved, embedding each song with moments of discovery, revelation, and ecstatic catharsis. That is our description passing along to you as well. On the Rocktober front, from Rhino and Warner, hopefully we're getting another reissue of the soundtrack from Heavy Metal. This is that great movie from the 80s that you looked for on pirated VHS long before rentals were a thing, or maybe that's just me. But this one is coming on red vinyl, and it's an exclusive brick and mortar release. So some cool stuff from the likes of Sabbath, Blue Oyster Cult, Cheap Trick, Devo is on there, Grand Funk Railroad, Sammy Hagar, of course, Nazareth, Stevie Nicks, and others. So some great, great music from a cool, albeit dated movie these days, but that is coming out as well. We're also getting an anniversary reissue from the White Stripes, and this is the 20th anniversary of White Blood Cells. Kind of cool. This is showing up on what's being called Peppermint Pinwheeled colored vinyl. It's 180 gram. It's an indie exclusive limited coming from Third Man Records. And this, of course, being the White Stripes breakthrough album with some great, great stuff on there. Dead Leaves and the Dirty Ground, Hotel Yorba, We Were Going to Be Friends, and many, many more. So look for that one as well. One on the big box front as well, coming from the Replacements this week. Sorry Ma, forgot to take out the trash. This is a reissue of the Replacements' 1981 twin tone debut record, and it's getting the box treatment in this case from Rhino with a set of 5 discs that opens with a remastered version of the original album that's been expanded with a non-album B-side. And the deluxe edition wraps up with the earliest professional live recordings of the Replacements. A previously unreleased concert dubbed Unsuitable for Airplay was captured by Twin Tone's mobile unit on January 23rd of 1981 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This deluxe edition also comes with a 12 by 12 hardcover book with dozens of rarely seen photos. And that's a quick look at the highlights of this week's new releases, headed to an independent record store near you. I'd like to start off this next segment of the Record Show with a bit of a disclaimer. Whenever you talk about music, what is best, what is worst, what is good, what is bad, what I like, what you don't like, you have to take into account that that type of opinion is very, very subjective, especially, again, when it comes to music. Trust me, no one knows that more than a Rush fan like myself. But when you talk about what is the worst song out there, there's no shortage of opinion all over both YouTube, the internet, you name it, going back many, many years. At the top of many of these lists is Starships, formerly aka Jefferson Starship, Jefferson Airplane, you name it, their third iteration and the first as Starship, knee deep in the hoopla, very famous or infamous for the song We Built This City. Now, there's lots of different opinions as to why this is not a very well-loved song, although folks do seem to like it. Musically, it's not terrible, and I think that the root cause for the despise that goes toward this piece of music has to do with, in my case, the repetition. When this came out in 1985, I was working commercial radio, top 40 station, so you could not escape this song just about anywhere. And at the time, music videos were really coming into their own as well, but even then, that looked very, very cheesy. By today's standards, tremendously so. So I think that has a little bit to do with the idea that this is not a great song now, because we can look at this musically and say, it's not their best work. But we can also take a look visually and just laugh at that 1980s production value that goes into the music video. So apparently the audio of this song is just so terrible, YouTube won't even allow us to post this segment. So you'll just have to hum this in your head while remembering the massive amounts of copyrighted suckage it represents. But while Starships, We Built This City tops many, many lists as far as the worst song ever goes, one that has really kind of escaped that notoriety is a song by Fred Schneider. You may know him as the lead singer of the B-52s. Well, in 1984, Schneider decided to make a go as a solo artist, and teaming up with a group that he called the Shake Society, released this album. Now, I've heard this song before, but it really, quite frankly, never got that much attention from me. I heard it and went, it's all right. But it wasn't until we got a copy of this album into the store, and I decided to give it a listen, that I realized just how bad the song Monster, which is pretty much the push track on here, really, really was.
There's a monster in my pants, and it doesn't empty pants. When it moves in and out, everybody starts to shout. Monster! Oh! Monster! Oh! Get out of here, monster! Monster! Monster!
Now, I suppose you could chalk this up a little bit to being the 1980s. Yes, it's got some very juvenile lyrics going out through Monster, but it's also the costuming, just really the packaging. And I suppose this really could epitomize the culture that was trying to come through in this alternative and moving into new wave scene through that time period. But just like Starship, the song Monster did not do itself any favors on top of the lyrics with the video that they took along with this. Now, I'm sure some of you have heard this before, but if you're like me, it just slipped by the radar with so much going on through the late 80s. And now that we've reached this point where we can begin looking back, especially with the likes of Starship, and say, that's really not that good of a song, I really think Fred Schneider and the Shake Society's album, as well as the Cut Monster, deserve some of that derision as well.
There's a monster on the run, and it wants to have some fun. When it flies up in the air, all the people stop and stare. The guys give a yell, and the girls start to shriek when they see its giant claws and its razor-sharp beak. Gosh, would you look at that thing?
Thanks for watching The Record Show. If you haven't done so yet, please make sure to subscribe to the Radio Wasteland Records YouTube channel. And be sure to hit that notifications bell so you'll be alerted every time we upload new content.